Hey everybody, welcome back to RedMug Music. I'm Brian, very glad you could be back with me today. What we're doing today is we're going to talk about the album that I had ranked in my second video ever on this channel in the Duran Duran rankings. I ranked it number 3, and that album is going to be their debut album, Duran Duran 1981. I think it's important that we talk about the difference between when I ranked the album initially in the first video that I did and what I'm going to do now. Now, I am of the age to where when the first Duran Duran album was released, I was like 9. So I wasn't that old, and I didn't know it existed because it had been released in England. So I didn't hear about Duran Duran until much later on, pretty much right around Rio and Seven and the Ragged Tiger. And then I bought the Duran Duran album. And when I bought the album, I got this one, sorry for the glare. Now, you can tell on this one, this was the reissue, the re-release that came out in 1983. And this is the one that has, Is There Something I Should Know? And what happened is they took out To the Shore and added Is There Something I Should Know? Now, I didn't know because I was a 9-year-old kid. Actually, I was 11 when this came out. I was an 11-year-old kid, and I didn't realize the difference musically. So when this album came out, in my defense, I was 11 years old, and I didn't notice Is There Something I Should Know was any different musically from the rest of the album. I just thought this was the album. I didn't know it was a reissue. So this is the album that I've always known. This is the Duran Duran album I always listened to. However, I later come to learned that this is the album. This is the album. Sorry for the glare. Now this is a limited edition double vinyl that I will be giving away to one of my subscribers eventually whenever I get around to coming up with how I'm going to do it. Actually, if you have any comments or any ideas on how I can give this album away, comment down below. Maybe you guys can tell me how I should do this. I've done it before. I mean, I have ideas, but maybe, if somebody had a really good idea, we would go with that. So this album has To the Shore, and it doesn't have Is There Something I Should Know? And I'm glad, I'll put it over here, I'm very glad that the version that I had didn't have To the Shore, because I don't like To the Shore that much. I think To the Shore is one of these songs that, it sounds unfinished. Actually, let me get my notes out here. So it's song number 4. I wrote down that, it has very heavy keyboards and effects. It doesn't feel like the song pulled together very well. And even after the drum comes in, I still don't feel like it pulled together very well. I think this should have been an outtake. So by the time this album came on, I think they got it right. But I don't know if I would have put Is There Something I Should Know? We had other songs. We had Late Bar, we had Canada, we had Faster Than Light. We had other options. I don't know why they put To the Shore in there. So, but they did. So anyway, when I do the reason why I'm saying all this is whenever I do my next ranking after Future Past comes out, it's going to be this version of Duran Duran, not this version of Duran Duran, because I'd like to stay as original as I can, and I think reissues are it wasn't the actual release, and I do have my limitations with that. So it's just going to be based on the situation. In this situation, I want to go with the original because I think it's fair. So anyway, let's talk about the album. This particular album had 3 releases. It was Girls on Film, Planet Earth, and Careless Memories. The first time I heard all 3 of these, actually it wasn't even Girls on Film, was Arena. I heard Planet Earth and Careless Memories, and I love that version of those songs. I think it's really, really good. I didn't hear Girls on Film yet, but I heard the song before because I didn't live under a rock, and I did watch music television, Friday night videos, Saturday night videos, eventually MTV. But I tell you what, listening to this music, especially like when I was listening to Girls on Film, I noticed John Taylor's bass ability to play the bass was quite advanced. It was very good. And I was, after listening to all the, other albums that came out after this one and hearing how he played bass, this one is probably one of my favorites of mine, this album, to listen to John Taylor play. And also I noticed that Andy Taylor is throughout this entire record. Like, he is very prominent, very upfront. And I think in a lot of cases, he was like a major part, like he was important. It made the record. It helped make the record. It helped shape that sound that Duran Duran had during this time. But Girls on Film, Planet Earth, Careless Memories, I really don't have to talk about because everybody knows those songs and they know how good they are. Now, when we go to Anyone Out There, I like Anyone Out There. It's the third track on the album. It's a rock song. And it's got Nick Rhodes. He's kind of playing in the background, just kind of keeping it all together as support. And I really think Anyone Out There, I really think it could have been a single. I think it's a really good song. And I don't know, I think I may have wanted to release Anyone Out There instead of Careless Memories, even though Careless Memories is good, or release Anyone Out There also. I think that would have been a good idea to continue to sell the album and get some support out there. Anyone Out There is a fantastic song, and it's one of my favorites. And then, of course, we talked To the Shore. I'm sorry, I just don't like it. It may be because I just never got used to it, but I just think there's a lot of extra noise in it that's just not necessary. I think Simon Le Bon's voice is not that great. I kind of joked in my last video about how I was kind of waiting for Simon Le Bon to go out of tune, and I kind of felt like maybe he did, but maybe it was just me singing along. I really think To the Shore, Simon Le Bon is going out of tune. I do know that when he first started singing in the beginning, before this or around this time when this album came out, he had a come to Jesus meeting and about his singing, and he hadn't developed it yet, hadn't practiced it yet. The bass player, John and Nick and everybody, they had played enough to learn their parts, but Simon Le Bon needed to exercise his voice as well and learn how to use it, know what he can do, know what he can't do. And I just think To the Shore is just one of those songs that he shouldn't have, at least not been on the album. It should have been an outtake. But anyway, I remember when I first got this album back in '83, side 2 was a lot harder for me to listen to because I was an 11-year-old kid. Nightboat, Sound of Thunder, Friends of Mine, Tel Aviv. It's kind of interesting to me that this album, or Duran Duran, did as good as they did with this kind of music to the crowd that they did well with, because I was 11, maybe I was a little too young for this kind of album, but I just didn't care. I think these sounds, Nightboat, Sound of Thunder, Friends of Mine, Tel Aviv, I think they were a little bit more mature and not so, boy band as they used to call Duran Duran, which is kind of crazy. But then as I grew up, I started to really enjoy these songs. I really like Nightboat. I actually think that Nightboat is kind of an overlooked masterpiece. It's very haunting. It's very eerie. It's a great song, or great songwriting. And it shows how well the band can play together, even at that early stage of their existence. They played together really well, and they were pretty good musicians. So Nightboat is actually a very good song. I actually love it. To be honest, if I were to listen to this album now, I would just flip it over to side 2 and listen to that first. So that's what I think about these songs. And then you go over to Sound of Thunder, which is very disco. It's like disco infused type song, very heavy drums, and probably one of my favorite vocals by Simon. And I love the chorus. I just absolutely love the chorus in this song. And then we have a song called Friends of Mine. And again, the first note I have on here is I started out not liking this song. But have you noticed when this song comes on that it sounds very much like Pink Floyd? If you've ever thought that, comment down below and tell me that I'm like in good company there, because I hear Pink Floyd until the keyboard comes in. Then I'm like, oh, no, it's Duran Duran. It's not Pink Floyd. So I just find it interesting that every time my song comes on, I think of Pink Floyd, and I'll probably go on to listen to Pink Floyd after listening to this album. This is the first song, talking about Friends of Mine. This is the first song where I noticed I felt like they underperformed the verses, right? You know, it was just very monotone, and had the raspy backing vocals, and it was just kind of weird, and I was just like, I don't know about this. But then it gets to this chorus, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And this is when I discovered that I like that sort of thing. I like it when you have a very non-melodic verse that may not even be all that great, which I think it's great, of course. And then it switches over to this completely different sound with this chorus, and it's melodic, and it's beautiful, and it's singable, and it's like, wow. This is when this happened. This is the first time in listening to Duran Duran that I noticed that contrast. Is definitely Friends of Mine. So I really think that's awesome. It made me enjoy and to learn to enjoy the anticipation of getting to the part that I really enjoy in a song. And it makes me like the entire song better. Too Late Marlene, I think, is like that. You know, it's just, you know, it's good all the way through, but it's just a little bit mundane, a little monotone, not monotone, but, you know, it's just kind of consistently the same. And then it gets to this chorus and you're like, that's so beautiful. That's Friends of Mine. I think that's what happened. And this is a situation where Nick and Andy are playing off of each other, and they're playing in tandem. And it's strange to hear how they argued and fought all the time, because they played together so well. They sound very good playing in the song together. And I just really felt like they had to like really collaborate and listen to each other and talk to each other, and like, you do this and then I'll do this. I mean, I don't know how they couldn't, because it's just such a beautiful song. But Friends of Mine is one of my favorites on this album. And then to close it out is the instrumental Tel Aviv. In Tel Aviv, it's another situation where you have Andy and Nick Rhodes playing in tandem, you know, playing off of each other, all the string sounds and everything. I didn't see in the credits that they had any kind of people playing violins or whatever. I assume this was Nick Rhodes, and it's Nick and Andy. And Tel Aviv is for an instrumental, is one of my favorites. So to think about my favorite songs on the album, I'm going to say really all of them. There's not one here that I don't like. I don't like To the Shore, except To the Shore. And I'm talking about the 81 release of the song or the album. I'm going to say side 2 is probably my favorite side to listen to. Sound of Thunder, Nightboat, Friends of Mine, Tel Aviv. And the one song I don't like is To the Shore. It shouldn't have been on here at all. But as this album relates to my definition of what an album should sound like, I think it's done well. I think it's starting out with Girls on Film with the shutter sound from the camera. I think that's a really good touch. I think the transitions are fine. There's really not a whole lot you can do with an album like this. It's basically just a bunch of songs smashed together. Making side 1 be the side with all the hits, and then side 2 be like the a little bit darker side. I mean, maybe that was done on purpose. I'm actually into that. I think that's okay. But artistically, I mean, there's really nothing that really happened on this album that would be amazing. I just think it's really good music and really good musicianship and really good singing. And Simon Le Bon's vocals is very good, except for To the Shore. And there's really nothing that I can complain about except for To the Shore. Sorry, I keep saying that. And then to close it out with Tel Aviv, I think there is a little bit of an artistic touch to that. I think it's And, it's a relatively short album, so I think it's a really good album. I like it a lot. The only thing I would have changed about this whole album is, again, take To the Shore out and add, one or two of the other, outtakes, Late Bar, Canada, Faster Than Light. You can probably put all three of those in because records back then were 42 or 44 minutes long. So I think it was no more than like 22 minutes a side. So they were definitely, restricted, and that's why albums were short back then, when it was just, out when records were the way they released music. But if you took out To the Shore, I think you could have put at least two or three of those outtakes, not including Fame. I wouldn't have put that in there. I think that would have been a good idea, and I think it could have still been a really good album. So that's the only thing I would have done differently. So that's it. That's my review, or my rediscovery of Duran Duran from the 1981 debut album, Duran Duran. So comment down below and tell me where this album lands on your rankings in Duran Duran. Is it in your top 5? Do you not like it? Actually, I would love to hear if any of you just don't like this album at all, or if you prefer the 81 release or the 82 or 83 re-release. So it was a Harvest release. That's a little different, but I don't think we should include that. Not really relevant at this point. So anyway, that's it for me this week. I'm really glad you were able to hang out with me today. And before I go, if you haven't done it already, or if you're new to the channel, like I always say, don't forget to subscribe, because shortly I'm going to be giving this album away. And the cool thing about this album, it's the original Duran Duran 1981 release, plus on the second side, or there's not the second side, but the second record, it's a bonus 12-inch. Side one's Planet Earth, the night version. Then you have Girls on Film, the extended night version. And then side 2 is Planet Earth, the night mix, and then Girls on Film, night mix. So it's got a bunch of bonus stuff. So make sure you subscribe so you can have a chance to win that record. And again, comment down below, tell me a good way to do, if it's a contest or just however we should give that record away. Comment down below, let me know what you think. So that's going to be it for me this week. Again, I'm so glad that you were able to hang out with me, and I will see you next time.